Alright guys, so what are we doing today? So we're actually getting prepared for us to install the Stoptech STR42 11.75 braking kit on my B13. And the things you got to go ahead and do is you have to assemble the two-piece rotor. So there's the top hat, is the rotor. The kit from FastBrakes comes complete with it. This is just part one of what needs to get done for us to go ahead and get ready to get this kit together. The kit does come with instructions and some of the things you need to assemble the top hat and the top hat and the rotor itself is the proper Loctite. So I got here Loctite 271, which is what the instructions call for. And again, this kit is mainly intended for road racing. The STR42 caliper from Stoptech is a motorsport caliper. I didn't buy it because it looks good. I bought it because my car actually does put in work. And as you guys have seen it in many of my other videos, me and Sergio and everybody else, we definitely put our cars through the paces. So I figured I'd upgrade my brakes from the Willwood kit to Stoptech kit. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. These Stoptech calipers seem to be the business. So if they're good enough for motorsport grade cars, I figured they're good enough for me. I know Will from PZ Tuning, the current record holder for quite a bit of tracks. He uses the STR42 caliper but in larger size, of course. And some other guys actually use the STR42 itself in grid life, so in their unlimited class. So it's again, if it's good enough for them, definitely it's good enough for me. So let's get to it. So some of the things that I'm going to go ahead and do is here's all the hardware, and the easiest thing to do is just kind of line up the hardware. There is a flatter side to the washer and a rounder side to the washer. You want to use a flatter side facing the top hat, pretty much, or facing towards the rotor. But it's easy if you just line them up and have them ready because you're going to be using them. Don't mind my very busy workbench here, but pretty much it's just, again, you can tell there's a rounder side to it and there's a flat side to it. You want the flat side to lay flush onto the top hat. So just little known fact, a lot of people don't look at their washers, but it's something you pick up along the way. Also, another thing I will be doing is something you don't have to do, but I like to do for safety anyway, because again, when I'm out at the track, the less things that I have to worry about, the better for me. I don't want to have to worry about things falling apart or backing out. And it looks like we have an additional washer. Great. So I got my safety wire tool here and my safety wire. So that's one of the things that's very important to me, because as you can see, these bolts have holes drilled in through them, and that's so that we can run all our safety wire through it. And the reason we're going to do that is so that they're safety wired to each other, and so they can't back themselves out, even if they rattle themselves out somehow wow, I'm not a juggling artist here. So even if they back their way out somehow, some way, even with the Loctite, the safety wire will keep them in place. So the instructions, very important. So pretty simple. Top hat, I use a microfiber towel just so not to scratch the top hat while I'm assembling this. Boom, rotor goes on this way. Just line up the holes. Nothing too crazy yet. So you want to just dab a little bit of Loctite on each one of these bolts, and then I'll go ahead and I'll start them all by hand. All right, so I have all the bolts in. I just kind of like torqued them down, not even torqued them down, I just tightened them down so I can get them down to where I need them to be, because these do need to get torqued down. These are all 13mm or 1/2 inch bolt heads. So you want to go ahead and tighten them down. The instructions say to torque them down to 12, not 12, excuse me. It says to torque them down to 20. The instructions say to torque them down to 20 pound-feet of torque, and do not over tighten. So let me get my handy torque wrench here. You don't have to have a fancy one. Bam, 20. So let's go ahead and do that. Shouldn't take too much force. just gonna double check all of it just to make sure I didn't miss any. Yep, we are good to go. All right, so all the bolts are in, the rotor is torqued down, and we're done, right? So I did mention I was gonna safety wire it. A big thing for me is definitely keeping the car safe. Again, I wouldn't want to do all this and have it not, you know, be as reliable as I wanted it to be with a bolt backing out or something like that. So I'm going to safety wire this. Again, I have safety wire that I have left over from the last time I safety wired right here. And so I have my trusty safety wire tool. And really why you want safety wire is because I'm not sure how well it comes up in the camera, but what you want to do is if this were to back itself out, because it's going to back itself out counterclockwise, it's going to pull on this wire, backing itself out going this way. And if it's pulling on this wire, it's going to basically force this one to tighten more. Because if it's pulling upward on this wire, that means it's going to be pulling clockwise on this bolt, which is just going to tighten it. So this is not going to make this go anywhere. And because this one's just going to tighten and not go anywhere, it's not going to let this one back itself out. So this one's tied to this one. The same thing goes for this one. If this one were to try to back out and go counterclockwise, all it would do is pull this one going clockwise and tighten this one more. And really, there would be no room for either of them to move. So that's really why I like doing this. It's just, again, it's just one less thing to have to worry about when I'm on the track and I'm hammering away at all the laps that I do. So it's just a good peace of mind. So for me, I really just like, you know, looking at it this way, just size it out. That's a little too much right there. That's pretty good. So I'll cut my safety wire right here. So what I like to go ahead and do is I just go ahead and run it through the hole in the bolt. So it's a tight squeeze a little bit, but just try to make it as even as possible without bending the safety wire too much. So that's pretty much the goal there. I always like going up all the way around the bolt just to make sure. Yep, that's good. So as you guys can see, I have them pretty even. So pretty closely even, but that's good enough. So what I like to do is start the first one, and I do the bottom under this one. Just kind of start it there, and then do one more by hand. Okay, just to keep it in place. And then I measure where it's going to go into the hole on this bolt, and that's about right there. The hole is right here where my finger is, so that's where it's going to go. So what I like to do is I grab my pliers right about there, because that's where it's going to go in the hole. Grab my pliers there, lock my pliers, all right, let them go. So see, have my wire now really nice and tight. It's nice and tight. So it's going to be nice and tight. So I'll pull this one around this bolt here to the back here, and I'll go counterclockwise on the back end. This one I'll do by hand, because this one only spins, the pliers only spin clockwise. So pull this nice and hard, and then go counterclockwise. Alright, so that's really nice right there. See, it's really nice and tight. As I was tightening counterclockwise, it pulled this thread all the way around. It's around the bolt. It's not sticking out over the edge or anything like that. So at the end, really what you want to do, these have, I don't know how sharp the ends are on this, but I just use my cutters right here like this. cut the end off, and then usually what I like to do is I like to go ahead and grab the end and then just bend it in. All right, so we went ahead and assembled our rotors. Now we move on to these beauties right here. Now again, I didn't just buy these because they look good. I mean, you don't want to spend, you know, anywhere between, depending on what kit specifically you get from Brian at FastBrakes, anywhere between $1,200 to $1,600 on a brake kit just because it looks good. You want to definitely buy something that's going to perform, and it's going to perform well. And this is why I purchased these. I had my eyes on these for a while. Nobody made a kit, but Brian at FastBrakes stepped up and made a kit for the B13. Now this is using this STR42 caliper, and it's lighter than the ST42 because they've machined certain portions out of it to make it even lighter. So they've saved more weight on this caliper, making it lighter than the ST42, which is their standard version. The finish is also much more durable than the standard ST42 finish, and I mean it's very light. It's a very light caliper. Another advantage I saw in this caliper over the Willwood kit is the fact that if you look at these, if I can get up close and show you the pistons in there, let's see if I can get that in the camera. Yeah, so if you see the pistons in there, the walls of those pistons are pretty damn fat, as opposed to the walls in the Willwood Dynalite caliper, which are really thin walls. So I'm looking for that firmer pedal all through my braking to definitely assist in getting deeper into those corners and getting better lap times. And with these calipers, there are a couple parts that you do have to assemble when they come from Brian at FastBrakes. They come with the bleeder screw, which you're going to use one, which is right here. And then they come with, and this is actually for the line. This is the line attachment. So they come with the bleeder screw, which is right here, and a copper washer. So this being the left caliper, because they're marked left and right, this one's actually going to be the one that's facing down, up this way. So on the car, facing the car, front of the nose of the car is this way. This is going to be what's going to be the top. So left at the top, right's going to be on the other side. So what you want to go ahead and do here is your bleeder valve is going to go on the top hole. So this is where you want your bleeder valve, and you're going to want to go ahead and just insert this. It's beveled here on the edge, so you don't, the copper washer is not for this portion. It's actually for the brake line portion. So this goes in there. It's not going to go on very tight because I'm going to end up bleeding these when they get on the car as well anyway. And it comes with a nice little cap. So we're going to get this cap on. All right, so we're good. That's on there. That's almost assembled. It's pretty much just take off this rubber dust cap and copper washer, brake line adapter. Get it in there like that. What you're going to need is a socket for that, so let's get that next. All right, so what I have here is a 14 mil deep socket to tighten this down, and it's just tight enough. It's perfect. Just tighten enough. You won't break it. You won't go down too far. Just tight enough to basically get that copper washer to conform to the spaces that are open. Double check. I did go with my favorite brake pad. Okay, so I went with G-Lock R10s for track, and I went with, so you guys can see the part number. So I went with G-Lock R10s for track and G-Lock GS1s for the street. The reason why I have two brake pads again, street, track. This one is a street pad. It is a low dust, low noise, you could say, performance street pad. You don't want to do any autocrossing in this. You don't want to do any road racing in this. It definitely won't keep up with the heat needed, the heat ranges needed to definitely make it a performance pad on track. But for that, I have my R10s, and these have been performing so well that I had to go back. I could have gone with a R12, but it's just for the braking that I already have and how deep I go into corners, I felt like I'd just go with what I know and go with these. And I figure with a much better caliper setup, these should be working like magic. So again, street, track, it's always a good idea. Just like track tires and street tires, it's always a good idea to have 2 sets of wheels if you can. But let's go ahead and open these up. Any pricing for any of these parts, I'm gonna contact Brian at FastBrakes for the kit, contact Danny and G-Lock for pricing on pads, and you can always go on the website. The pricing is there. From time to time I have ran group buys for Danny at G-Lock for the pads, and we get a heck of a discount. But for now, go ahead and contact Danny at G-Lock. If I ever run another group buy, you'll see it on my Instagram. Here's one thing, I already pre-fitted these, and I had, as I mentioned before, there is going to be a little bit of sanding that's going to be involved to get these to fit exactly right. All right, so as I was mentioning before, these pads do have a specific size, and I can show you what size they're supposed to run. Quick and easy. Again, bam, got to learn how to Google. I had already looked for STR42 brake pads, and they give you right here, click any site, and boom, the STR42 Stoptech STR42s may be equipped with one of the 2 different pad shapes depending on the application. Select the shape below that resembles the pads. Boom, this is it. So this is a DR22 pad shape that you'd be purchasing for your STR42s, and it gives you the dimensions there. It tells you it's 100.6 millimeters across the backing plate. Now, one thing I have noticed is this pad, because it does have, you know, the paint on it that comes from, you know, G-Lock, it does go over the 100.6, which I use my little calipers here to measure that out. And so when you put it into the caliper itself, oh, it's a super snug fit. So what I've done on the other pads is I've already pretty much clearanced them. So what I did to do that was I started off with a file just to take off a little bit at a time, and then so I was able to go ahead and just start filing the end of it here. So I took down enough material just to let it slide, and yeah, my hand slipped a little bit, but that was taking way too long. And so boom, Dremel came out, little sanding attachment, the sanding wheel. So I went ahead and sanded that down. I sanded this side down a little bit. I also went ahead and notched the top here. I don't know if that you can see that in the camera. It's see that, does that work? Yeah, there you go. So I notched the top there where you can see, and that again was for it to make clearance for this bridge right here. So now the pad goes in, oops, excuse me. So now the pad goes in pretty easy, and the bridge goes over it. Let me go ahead and put the other pad that I had already clearanced, this one right here. Put the bridge on, put the bolt through, no problem. Whoops. No problem, easy peasy. So as you can see, I was able to clearance it pretty good in there. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit further in there. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you guys can see that. So you can see in here where it was hitting the pad. Now there's plenty of clearance so the pad can slide back and forth on it. So that's cleared out. That'll make for easier pad swaps, and I can just push it from the bottom and it comes out pretty easy. So it was just for me cleaning up the sides of it, and again just dremeling out the little curve here so it goes around it. So I'm going to do the other 2, and actually I'm going to do all 8. So I'm going to do my R10 so that they are ready to be installed as well. So let's go ahead and do that now.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, so here's the finished product. You guys saw how tedious it was to just get them just right so they're not so tight that they can't move at all. And this kit does come complete with brake lines, so you will use new brake lines that do have a different angle to go to the caliper itself, the bleeders on top. So that's it. This is the Stoptech 11.75 big brake kit from FastBrakes using G-Lock GS1s for street. Now on the next episode you'll see me and Sergio and AJ, hopefully if he leaves his lazy boy from playing Call of Duty, decides to come and help us from the city of Riverside now that he's living in his new home. Congratulations to him, and maybe comes and assists, so that'd be cool. I'll show you guys how this kit goes on. This is just a pre-assembly of what it takes and how to prepare to install a big brake kit. I definitely wanted to do this for you guys in case you do purchase this kit and you want to go ahead and prepare yourselves for what you're in for. So I'll see you on the next episode, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like videos like these, definitely like and subscribe. We do appreciate your viewership here, and we do appreciate your comments. Take care. Peace.